بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله والسلام عليه تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله، وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. As Brother Adam Hafidhullah mentioned, the next few days we're going to give and listen to lectures in this masjid centered around an important topic, and that is the concept of planting seeds for today in order to receive the harvest from those efforts tomorrow bi-idhnillah. I want to deal with this issue and tackle this issue from a very important angle as a reminder to all of us. And it is something that is consistent with, obviously, the principles of the Quran and the Sunnah and the da'wah and the seerah of our Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa al-Mukhtar al-Mujtaba sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And it's one of those issues that is basic and is simple and is fundamental, but a lot of times we make things difficult for ourselves. What is going on right now in the Muslim world, like in Iraq and Syria, it is a classic case of people making things, Muslims making things unnecessarily difficult upon ourselves. Also within our lives as individuals. Some people from amongst us, they may not have been practicing all their lives. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla gave them hidayah. So when the person gets hidayah, he becomes difficult, mutshaddid. He becomes real tough, difficult on himself and difficult on people who are around him. Some of us come into the religion of Islam, like myself. I come into the religion of Islam and I have to deal with my parents who are going to celebrate Thanksgiving. But because my understanding of Islam or my lack of understanding of Islam, I become a person who, my parents, they can't tolerate me. And for this reason, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to one of the greatest companions, he was from the ulama of the companions, Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, radiyallahu anhu wa ardahu, he used to pray Salat al-Isha behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he was also the imam in Masjid Quba, which is the first masjid that was built in Al-Islam in Al-Medina. And his people used to wait for him to pray Salat al-Isha and then come to lead them in Salah. And when he went to lead them in the Salat, he started reading Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah of the Quran. There was a man in the Saf, in the Jama'ah. He was out in the desert all day long. He was waiting for Mu'adh radiallahu anhu to complete Salat with the Nabi, and then he came and he prayed Salat al-Isha. He prayed Salat al-Isha and read Surah Al-Baqarah. That man got out of the line and he prayed by himself. And he finished Salat al-Isha before Mu'adh ibn Jabal. The people told Mu'adh ibn Jabal, that man, he got out of the prayer, he prayed by himself and this and that. Mu'adh said he's from the munafiqeen. Because one of the signs of the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, one of their many signs is they don't pray with the jama'ah. They don't pray with the jama'ah. They split away from the jama'ah. So Mu'adh gave a ruling on the man. He said it's from munafiqeen. He went and he told the Prophet what happened, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah would never judge. He would never judge between people unless he heard both sides of the story. People who hear one side of the story and they make a judgment or a ruling for their brother, for their friend, for their daughter, you're making the religion difficult. You have to hear both sides of the story. Anyway, when the Nabi heard what Mu'adh had to say about that man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told the man, come. He said, what happened? The man said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm in the desert, I'm working all day long, and then I come, I wait for Mu'adh to pray with you at Isha, and then to come over here, and he comes to our masjid and starts praying Salat al-Isha, and he reads Surah al-Baqarah, and the messenger, he became upset. And this is the shahid. He said to Mu'adh ibn Jabal, from his khasa'is, Yawm al-Qiyam is going to hold the flag, and behind him will be the ulama. He's not a jahil person. When the Prophet wanted to send ambassadors out to spread the religion, he didn't send the revert who just accepted Islam last month, and then the imam, that man went out and started getting in the masjid and talking. He sent the ulama. He sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen. Anyway, he said to Mu'adh ibn Jabal, one of the four people that the Nabi said to them, to the companions, Istaqru al-Quran min arba'. Learn the Quran from this man. When the Nabi heard what Mu'adh did, he said, Inna fikum munaffirin. Inna fikum munaffirin. He said 3 times, Afattanun anta ya Mu'adh? Afattanun anta ya Mu'adh? Afattanun anta ya Mu'adh? He said, from you people are those who run the people away from the religion. Because you're too rough, you're too tough. You have to take it easy. So I came to talk to you brothers about a very important issue, especially the youngsters from amongst you, but everybody. And that is, the first thing that we want to mention is, if we're going to plant seeds today in order to receive the harvest and the benefits of those seeds tomorrow, you should understand, we all should understand that everything in our lives as Muslims, it is built upon making things easy for us and not making things difficult upon us. One of the most important goals and objectives of this religion, what they call the maqasid of the Sharia, and there are many. One of the most important ones is a taysir. Allah wants to make things easy for you. He doesn't want to make things difficult for us. And his religion is not a religion that makes things difficult. He said in the Quran, for an example, subhanahu wa ta'ala, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. Allah wants ease for you. He doesn't want to make things difficult for you. He doesn't want to make things difficult. وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ مِلَّةَ أَبِيكُمْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ. He didn't make anything in your religion difficult for you. This is the millah of Ibrahim, your father Ibrahim. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَنْ يُخَفِّفَ عَنْكُمْ وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Allah wants to make your burden. He wants to make the load that you have to carry. He wants to make it light. Why? Because mankind has been created weak. Someone from amongst us is the richest here. Someone from amongst us is the most intelligent here. Someone from amongst us has the most taqwa and the most knowledge here. Someone memorized the most Quran, the most hadith here. Someone from amongst us is the strongest one here, physically. He's strong. Even that person is da'if. Mankind was created da'if. وَمَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى. We didn't reveal this Quran on you, Ya Muhammad, so as to make things difficult. So there are many ayat about that. I just wanted to make that point to lay the groundwork. This religion is easy, but people make it difficult. As for the authentic sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us, "Inna hadha ad-din yusrun, wa lan yashad ad-din ahadun illa ghalaba." This religion is easy, And no one tries to go overboard and do everything in this religion, except this religion is going to overwhelm you. From the time you woke up, Salatul Fajr, until this moment right now, there are many things to do. Many things. All of the 5 prayers that we do, all of the prayers connected to those prayers, the nawafil, the sunan, so many adhkar after those prayers, in between those prayers, birr al-walidain, silat al-rahm, ad-dawah, dhikr, memorizing the Quran, visiting your neighbor, so many issues, so many ibadat. If you try to do everything in one day, it's going to overwhelm you. You're going to get burnt out. So you have to take it easy, because Allah doesn't want to make things difficult upon people. One of the worst things that a Muslim can do, a father, is to be too demanding upon his children. And as a result of that, he runs them away. They have to go to school, and then after going to school during the day, they have to go to the masjid for 2-3 hours, and then when they come home, they have to do their homework, and it's overwhelming. Allah doesn't want that. A man gets married, and he's newly married, and his wife, he's tough, he's rough with her. Don't run the people away, and don't make the religion difficult on yourself as well. He said in an authentic hadith, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inna Allah harram an-nara ala kulli hayyin layyin sahl qareeb. Allah made the hellfire, He made the hellfire haram, and the person who was hayyin layyin. Any Arab will tell you hayyin layyin sounds like it's the same thing. Hayyin layyin, the difference between the two? Hayyin, he's easy on himself. Layyin, he's easy on other people. And the person who is easy to get along with, easy going, and he's close, he accommodates, he's not complicated. When you meet him, meeting him and dealing with him is like drinking water. There are some people, when you meet them, they are difficult characters to deal with. He may be your boss, he may be your father-in-law, he may be your brother-in-law, maybe your husband. People are argumentative. I mean, everything is a problem with them. When you come into the masjid, if you come into the masjid, he's there, the last one in the saf. When you see him, you go to the other side, because after the salat, he has something to say. The religion is easy, easy. So I want to share something with you here today. This is what my talk is all about. Plant your seed today, inshallah, you'll get the harvest for it tomorrow. Bi-idhnillah. I want to share with you a critical point that comes from the Quran and the Sunnah about how to be successful, inshallah. How to get the harvest. Because it's easy for a person to sit and to imagine. Theoretically, he says, I know I'm a falah, I'm a plant, I'm a farmer. And I imagine that, I'm going to get this big farm and I'm going to have all kinds of vegetables and vegetation, but he never took the first step to plant the first seed. He's just imagining real big things and so forth and so on, and he never took the first step just to take the seed, to plant the seed. You have to plant the seed first. Every journey begins with one step. Getting from here to Mecca, you're not going to arrive in Mecca until you take the first step. Now, some people, the way they exist is they believe in Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. And we all believe in that. We all believe in Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. It's one of the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But none of us are going to go through no Isra wal-Mi'raj. So the person sits and says, I'm going to go to Mecca because Allah is qadirun ala kulli shay. He took Prophet Muhammad to Bayt al-Maqdis, is going to take me. You're not going to Isra and you're not having no Mi'raj. For you and me, we have to go, we have to get a job, we have to pay for a ticket, we have to get a visa, and we have to take the first step. You can't just sit dreaming and imagining. So the advice that I want to give to you brothers, as I told you, is something that the Prophet taught us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is, we have to take care of the small things, and the big things will take care of themselves. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today, inshallah. The importance of taking care of the small things and the big things will take care of themselves in this religion. I don't know the people in this community, but there must be a medical doctor. Medical doctor, in order to achieve that status and plateau, it requires a lot of efforts. You don't go to sleep and you open your eyes and then you're a medical doctor. Doesn't happen. You have to take care of the building blocks that lead to that point. Everything in life is like that. This principle of taking care of the small things and the big things taking care of themselves, it is a principle in the Deen of Islam, and it is a principle that non-Muslims have. It's in this secular life as well. It is a sunnah of Allah. Sunnah of Allah. Anytime we make a claim, our claim has to be supported by proofs. I can't just come before you and make a claim and say this is from the Quran, this is from the Sunnah, this is from Islam, and there are no proofs. There are many proofs that prove and indicate what I'm telling you about. Take care of the small things and the major things will take care of themselves. I became a Muslim, I'm living in the UK right now, and there are a lot of Islamic groups, people have different understandings of Islam. Some people are in the UK, and they're jumping up and down, screaming, the Khilafah. And no doubt the Khilafah is important. The Khilafah of Al-Islam is important. Some people are screaming and jumping up and down, Al-Jihad, 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 Al-Jihad. And no doubt, Al-Jihad is from our religion, it's important. The proper jihad. Not fasad, not fitna, but jihad of Islam has its time, it has its place, it has its people. But there are things before those two weighty things that need to be done by the Muslim community and the individuals, that if an individual is harping on upon those things, his understanding of Islam is a problem. He doesn't understand. He doesn't know that the book of Allah Ta'ala told us focus on the small things and the big things will take care of themselves. I'll give you some examples, and they're many from the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in the Quran, هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن الكتاب وأخر متشابهات. This ayat is a clear ayat that indicates the small things, the basic things, they are the things that the Muslim engages himself with. Allah is the one who revealed to you, Ya Muhammad, the Quran, the book. In it are ayat that are basic and fundamental. Qul huwallahu ahad. Everybody knows what it means. Everybody, the revert Muslim knows what it means. The scholar knows what it means. The Bedouin knows what it means. The Arab, the non-Arab. Allah said that those ayahs, they're the mother of the book. They're the majority of that Quran. I'm speaking to you now as a former Christian. If you open up the Bible, you won't understand that Bible. You won't understand it. The Torah, you won't understand it. That's why the Yahud, they rely on their ulama to read to them the Talmud instead of the Torah, because the Talmud is the tafsir of the Torah, and that's what they're focused upon. The tafsir is left up to their so-called ulama. In Al-Islam, anyone can go to that Quran and read that Quran and get a basic understanding. It doesn't mean he's a mufti. It doesn't mean that he's a scholar. It doesn't mean that he should give a class and give the tafsir of the Quran. But he can read that Quran and get a basic understanding. Why? Because the vast majority of the Quran is made up of ayat that are basic and fundamental. Hunna kitab. They are the mother of the book. And there are other ayat that are ambiguous. Not many people understand what they mean. Some of those ayat, only Allah even knows what they mean. Yasin, Taha, only Allah knows what that means. But whether they are the clear ones or the ambiguous ones, the believer, he believes in all of them. The point here is that the ayat shows what? That the religion is telling us with this ayat that Quran is basic. You don't have to be some scholar to comprehend it. No doubt, the more knowledge that you have, the better and deeper your understanding is, but you don't have to be a scholar to comprehend that Quran. So I was shocked. I was shocked when I came into Islam, and I used to hear people telling us, if you read the Quran without a scholar, and you get an understanding of the Quran, you have misunderstood the Quran. They were in essence telling us, don't read the Quran. And that's not the case. The Muslim has to read the Quran, and he has to do his best to try to have a tadabbur and a ta'ammul, do his best. Another ayat shows what? That the religion is telling us, take care of the small things and the big things will take care of themselves. Allah mentioned in the Quran, ما كان لبشر أن يؤتيه الله الكتاب والحكم والنبوة ثم يقول للناس كونوا عبادا لي من دون الله ولكن كونوا ربانيين بما كنتم تعلمون الكتاب وبما كنتم تدرسون. Allah said that it is not possible for Allah to choose a human being, to make him a Nabi or Rasul, and he gives that human being the book, and he gives him his sunnah, and he gives him the nabu, he makes him a Nabi, and then that man comes and he says to the people, worship me instead of Allah. But what the man is going to say is, he's going to say to the people, be Rabbaniyin, because of what you used to learn from the book and because of what you used to teach. This word Rabbani, I just want you guys to really understand what I'm saying, because if a person came to the masjid and he understood one ayat of the Quran, it is better for him than having a big voluptuous camel, as the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he learned two ayat, it's better for him than having a big voluptuous 2 camels, 3, 4, depending upon how many ayat that you memorized or you learned or you read. This ayat, وَلَكِنْ كُونُوا رَبَّانِيِّينَ, the scholars of Islam said that the Rabbani, scholars like Al-Imam al-Bukhari in his book, Sahih al-Bukhari, chapter of a tafsir, he said that the Rabbani is the scholar, the teacher. He teaches the person the small knowledge before the big knowledge. That's a Rabbani. It's the father, it's the mother, it's the sheikh, it's the imam, it's the mudarris. He's going to teach the people the small knowledge before the big knowledge. In Al-Islam, there are big knowledges, and in Al-Islam, there are simple basic knowledges. As a revert, I'll be more benefited if people who preceded me to this religion, they taught me the ahkam of the nun as-sakin before they taught me one of the sciences of Al-Islam that are difficult and complicated. So as a student, a person who's trying to be a Muslim, sometimes if a thing becomes more complicated, a person thinks he's doing better. And that's not the case in Al-Islam. You have to take it easy. Learn the basics of your religion before you graduate and go on to the more complicated things. Because if you open up the door on yourself, dealing with the complicated things, if you're not successful in moving forward, you may give up. And plus, you may not understand because you didn't build the building blocks. You didn't go through the right process. So the person who is a Rabbani, it is the individual who's going to teach the basics before he teaches the bigger issues, the more massive issues. That ayah goes to show, take care of the small things and the big things will take care of themselves. There are other ayat. But I want to move on to the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah mentioned an authentic hadith showing that the small things is what should get our minds. Taking the seed and planting the seed. If you want to harvest, there's no harvest without that first seed. So focus on the things that you have the ability to do first and foremost. For 23 years, he was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, dealing with his people, calling them to Al-Islam, and he called them to a lot of things in this religion, a lot. For 13 years, he just busied himself with consistently and constantly calling them to understand the importance of Allah's oneness. And I'm not talking about theoretic. I'm talking about developing in their minds, in their hearts, the seed and the understanding and the benefits of a tawheed. So that when it was time for them to make big sacrifices, they were ready. They didn't fail him at the critical moments, like the Battle of Badr and things like that. 13 years, he didn't call them to anything other than the importance of being Muslims, and people understood correctly who is Allah, where is Allah, what He does, what He doesn't do, things that a Muslim needs to know, so that when the awamir and the nawahi comes, those things, don't do this and do that, when they come, he's ready to embrace them. Islam tells him, you have to make this sacrifice. If he doesn't believe in Allah, he doesn't know who he's worshiping, he won't be too inclined to do that particular thing that he's being commanded to do. To give up riba, to give up khamr, to give up racism. So you have to take care of those little things. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, inna ahabb al-a'mali ila Allah adwamuha wa in qalla. The most beloved things to Allah, the most beloved deeds that you can do, the deeds that Allah loves the most, is the ones that you do consistently, even if they're a little bit. But the fact that you do it consistently, although it's a little, it's the most beloved deed to Allah Azza wa Jal. He said to the people in his sunnah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِذَا قَامَتِ الْقِيَامَةُ وَكَانَتْ بِيَدِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَصِيلًا فَلْيَغْرِسْهَا. If Yawm al-Qiyamah started right now, and one of you had a seed in his hand, a seed that can grow, apple tree, peach tree, pear tree, fig tree, you have something in your hand, and Yawm al-Qiyamah is about to start, he said, hurry up and plant it. Plant it. Who's going to benefit from? It's not even going to grow, because Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's not even going to grow. That's his way of telling the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the need of wanting to plant that one seed. No matter how insignificant it is, with Allah Azza wa Jal, only He knows how heavy it's going to be in the scales. And there are many instructions and advices from Him in this regard. He told everybody here, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Tell the people about me if it's only one ayat. You don't have to do the khutbah al-Jum'ah. You don't have to memorize all of the Quran. You don't have to memorize Sahih Bukhari. You just tell people, and he said people is general. Tell the Muslim, tell your child, tell your neighbor, tell the people you work with, tell the people you go to school with. Just explain to the people what you know. One ayat. Allah will take that ayat, and He Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, will cause it to grow in a way that He sees fit. But the focus here is upon what? Take care of the small thing, the little thing. He told one of his companions, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لا تحقرن شيئا من المعروف ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق. None of you should look at anything that is a good thing. Don't look at it as being insignificant. Even to meet your brother and to smile in his face. Don't look at that as being something that's insignificant. If it was so insignificant, more people would do it, but it's hard. I saw that outside. I don't know if you people are responsible for writing those words on the wall. Some words I saw was smile. Another word was faith or something like that. The man can't even smile. He can't even smile. He said, don't look at that as being insignificant, because it's something that can possibly get you into Jannah by Allah's permission. What is the hadith saying? The hadith is saying, take care of the small things. Take care of the things that you have the ability to do. Al-khilafa. That khilaf is important. It is important. But do you know how the khilaf is established? It's established by people taking care of the small things. The small things. The Nabiyyu sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about a situation that's going to happen Yawm al-Qiyamah. He said, "Ma minkum min ahadin illa sayukallimuhu Allahu Yawm al-Qiyamati, laysa baynahu wa baynahu turjuman, fayanzuru aymana minhu fala yara illa ma qaddama." ثم ينظر أشمل منه فلا يرى إلا ما قدم ثم ينظر تلقى وجهه فلا يرى إلا النار فليتق النار وَلَوْ بِشَقْ تَمْرَةٍ. He said, every single one of you, without any exception, you're going to stand before Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah by yourself, and Allah is going to talk to you. He's going to talk to you in a way that befits His majesty. And there's not going to be any translator, because there's no need for a translator. And Allah is going to hold him accountable for what he did and what he didn't do. The individual will look to his right, and you'll see everything that he put forward. He'll look to his left, he'll see everything that he put forward. And then he'll look in front of him, and then he'll see the hellfire. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let him fear the hellfire. Let him put a barrier between himself and the hellfire, even if it's with half of a date. Half of a date. Something simple. That half of the date with Allah Azza wa Jal in the scales, Allah knows how important it is. Allah knows how heavy it is, as you're going to see, inshallah. So there are many, many ahadith and ayat in this regard. Anyone who is reading the sunnah and the seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if this lesson passes him by and he's focusing on the miswak, that miswak is important. But there are lessons bigger than that miswak. All he knows from the sunnah and being on the sunnah is wiping on his khufs, wiping on his... You are missing the really, really important messages of his seerah and his sunnah, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam. In the beginning of Islam, in the beginning, he knew his companions, he knew the condition. He knows that the Quran is coming down, and it's the first time that those people are dealing with revelation. So he didn't overwhelm them. He told them in the beginning of Islam, in Mecca, "Man kataba anni ghayr al-Quran falyamhu." Anyone who wrote my hadith, anyone who wrote other than the Quran, I want you to erase it. In the beginning of Islam, he would only allow those companions in the beginning to write down the Quran. He wrote it on a piece of paper. That one wrote it on some leather. He wrote it on whatever apparatuses they had at that time. But as far as his sunnah was concerned, his speech, he didn't let them write down his sunnah, what he said. And that was because they were new to revelation. He didn't want the Quran, the kalam of Allah, being mixed up with his words. He wanted those companions to know, this is the Quran, this is the Quran. But as time went on and they knew this is Quran and these are hadith, he started to allow them later on to write this and to write that. What's the point? What's the point? He didn't overwhelm them. He didn't give the student too much. The student goes little by little. So what did the companions do? During his time, the companions used to memorize 10 ayat, 10 ayat, 15 at the most. Before moving on to the next 10, they would memorize 10, understand what they meant, and work by them. Today, the person wants to memorize the Quran, he's going to memorize Amma Yatasa'aloon in one day. And that's what he's pushing himself. It's permissible to do that. It's permissible. But that wasn't what the companions were doing. And they had the ability, and the environment was conducive for them to memorize a lot. They memorized 10 ayat, understood them, practiced them, and then they went on to the next 10. And that was because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to teach them, do things little by little. Anybody who takes knowledge at one time, he took a lot of knowledge at one time, it's going to leave you at one time. But the one who takes knowledge little by little, and he goes back, he goes over it. He takes some new, little by little, he goes back and he goes over that and this. Little by little, he goes back, he goes over that, this and this. That knowledge, inshallah, is going to remain with him, and it's going to be imprinted in his psyche. As for the one who just wants to memorize, and there is benefit in just memorizing, but it's not the best situation. So a lot of other things could be said, but I want to move on, inshallah. Take care of the small things, Ya Abdullah, and Allah will take care of the big things for you. They'll take care of themselves. They fall into place. It's the sunnah of Allah. Sunnatullah fil ladhina khalu min qabl. وَلَن تَجِدُوا لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. This is how Allah created things. The baby is going to walk, is going to crawl before it walks. He's going to drink milk, and then he's going to eat khubz, and then he's going to gradually eat things that his mouth can handle and his stomach can digest. That's the sunnah of Allah in the deen and the dunya. I find it amazing where I'm living at, and it's everywhere. The individual, he wants the young man, all of 15 years old, 16 years old. He's not even begun his life yet. He's encouraged to go and do something crazy, and he's made to understand that he's helping this religion by establishing the khilaf. What are you talking about? Take it easy. Take it easy. Now, there are many benefits that come as a result of taking care of the small things. The small things have a lot of benefit, which show you why you should take care of them. But because they're small, people tend to look at them as being insignificant. And this is one of the distinctions and the differences between the scholar and between the person who's not a scholar. The person who's not a scholar, he doesn't have knowledge of the religion, a lot of times he is impressed with the glitter and the hype. Someone may come into this masjid and they may say, you know, there's not a big minaret on the masjid. There's not a big mihrab that costs $2,000 to put $10,000 mihrab. You see the ceiling right here? This looks like it used to be a factory or something. And the one who doesn't have knowledge, he'll say, what kind of masjid is this? But the one who has knowledge, he'll come in and he'll pray behind the imam, and he'll hear the imam reading with tajweed. He'll see and he'll smell the aroma of the sunnah. He gets an idea where these people are coming from in the religion. So because he has some knowledge, he sees a lot of things that will make him happy. He's not looking for the big minaret. He's not looking for the big mihrab. He himself will say, you know, the mihrab is not even in the religion as such. It's no big deal to him if there's a mihrab or not a mihrab, because what he's looking at and he's judging and he's basing it upon knowledge. So the one with knowledge, he looks at the little deed and he says, this little deed has benefit. And one of the benefits of the little deed, one of the benefits of the small deeds, is that it's possible that the small deed can equal the big deed. The small deed, it can equal the big deed. And there's just too many examples for that, but I will just give you a few. Leaves no doubt in the mind of the person who's aqil and he's looking. The small deed. How long does it take and how much effort does it take for a person to say sallallahu alayhi wasallam? It takes a few seconds and there's no takalluf in it, none whatsoever. It's a small deed, it's an easy deed. He says sallallahu alayhi wasallam and salla alayya sallallahu alayhi biha ashra. Anyone who says sallallahu alayhi wasallam once, Allah, 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 it will equal, Allah will give him the reward of doing it 10 times. And it's easy, it's not difficult. Someone is fasting. If you gave the person water to fast, break his fast, you're going to get the reward of his fast. You didn't even fast. Man fattara sa'ima kana lahu ajruhu. Anybody who breaks his fast, he's going to get the reward of his fast. And he didn't even fast. All of what he went through in that day, you didn't do any of that, but you get the reward. And all you gave the man was one date. You put the dates in the masjid, for an example. You put the water in the masjid. The people broke their fast. You're not even fasting because you're sick or whatever. Or you are fasting, but you're going to get the reward because you fed the people. So the small deed, like that date, that water, is equal to the big deed. Too many examples. Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 years or 1,000 months. The person who prays that Maghrib, Laylatul Qadr, that Isha, Laylatul Qadr, he prayed Maghrib, Isha for 83 years. All of that. Whatever he's doing, Laylatul Qadr. Praying in Mecca, like if we prayed this Salat al-Maghrib right now in Mecca, it would have been 100,000, equal to 100,000, whatever you want to think about. One of the examples that I like to give, Ikhwani, because we like to connect the people to the scholars of Al-Islam, especially the scholars of the past. And when I say the scholars, I'm talking about the scholars of the Quran, the scholars of the Sunnah, those scholars who don't talk with khurafat, they don't encourage the community to make shirk and bid'ah innovation, they don't teach people crazy things. When I became a Muslim in Passaic, New Jersey, there were a group of Muslims who, they rented a very big building close to where my mother lived. I was happy to meet them. They told me, come back tonight, you're going to meet our sheikh and you'll meet the community. When I went back that night, the sheikh was sitting here with a big chair. He was sitting with a big chair, and all of the community was lined up at the door in the back. We were in a single line, the men, and you had to crawl to the sheikh. You had to crawl to him on your knees from there, one by one. When you get to him, you kiss his feet, you kiss his knee, you kiss his hand, you get up and you go. I said, my turn was coming. My turn was coming. I said, I'm not getting my knees for anybody. I don't want to be arrogant, I don't want to be nasty, but I know this is not for my religion. I didn't leave Christianity to come into Al-Islam, the house of Islam, to jump out the window. I said, I'm not crawling on my knees to anyone. So I just walked up to the man and I shook his hand, and he didn't seem upset, but everybody else was upset with me. Everybody was upset. But I knew what they were doing, it wasn't the correct thing. So we want to connect the people with the scholars of the past, who are scholars that preserve this religion, knowledge. And one of them is one of the greatest scholars of all time, Al-Imam al-Bukhari, Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Bukhari. Al-Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, had a dream. And in his dream, he saw that there were flies flying around the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, around his face. And the Nabi was sitting down in the Rawda, in his masjid sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Bukhari was there shooing the flies away. He went to his teacher, Imam Abdullah ibn Zubair al-Humaydi. The very first hadith in Sahih Bukhari, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that hadith, the chain of narration, it has only people who are from Mecca. Every narrator in that chain of narration is from Mecca. And from them, Imam Abdullah ibn Zubair al-Humaydi, Bukhari Sheikh. Bukhari went to that man. He said, this is what I saw in my dream. He said, I think that your dream means that you're going to do something where you're going to defend the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he advised them, why don't you bring together a book of hadith and make the conditions of the hadith really strong and stringent and stern, unlike anybody else. Bukhari said, okay, that's a good thing, that's a good thing. So he set about doing that. And Imam Bukhari has a number of thousand hadith in his book, whether they have been repeated or not. He has a couple of thousand. Every hadith that he put in that book, and Imam al-Bukhari would make a ghusl. Not a wudu, ikhwani, not a wudu. Not a wudu. He would make a ghusl. And this shows, for the person who was sitting there, he may say, I thought the religion is easy. Why did he have to do that? Ghusl for tens of thousands hadith? Maybe wudu is easy. Why would he make a ghusl? That was because Al-Imam al-Bukhari had what is known as ulu al-himma. Ulu al-himma is when a person shoots for the stars. And if he misses the stars, he's still going to hit high. He's not satisfied with mediocrity. The student just wants to get a C. He just wants to get a D. There's no conflict. There's no tanaqid. There's no conflict between having ulu al-himma and the deen is easy. Everyone should try to come to be in the first row on the right side of the imam. That's the one who has ulu al-himma. He wants to be the first one in the masjid on the day of Friday. He's not the one who comes and he just says, as long as I get the salat, I'm okay. There's no contradiction. Anyway, Now that book of Al-Imam al-Bukhari, it has become the single most beneficial, most authentic book on the face of the earth after the Quran. For you young people, there is no book on the face of the earth more important, more authentic than Sahih al-Bukhari, with the exception of the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. Wallahi, Al-Imam al-Bukhari's sheikh who told him to put that book together, he's going to get the reward of that. And he didn't make a single ghusl. He didn't do any of the work. He didn't do any of the leg work. And that's because the Nabi mentioned sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it proves the point. Ad-dalu ala khairin kafa'ili. The one who points someone to do good will get the reward. Your child memorizing the Quran, the one who pointed someone to do good will get the reward. The one who planted the seed, he planted the seed and then he died. Anything that benefited from that seed, anything, he's going to get the reward of that. The bird that ate from the tree, the person who came and leaned under the tree and it guarded him from the shade, anything that has a spirit that benefited from that seed, he's going to get the reward. And it all started off with something small. So the small deed, ikhwani, it has the ability to equal the big deed. Number two, what's the benefit of the small deed? That we shouldn't look at it as being insignificant. The small deed has the ability to outweigh the big deed. It has the ability to outweigh the big deed. The small deed has the ability to outweigh the big deed. Rasulullah was sitting with his companion sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa radiyallahu anhum ajma'een. He said, Sabaqa dirhamun mi'ata alf dirham. قالوا كيف ذاك يا رسول الله؟ قال صلى الله عليه وسلم كان الرجل له درهمان فأخذ أحدهما فتصدق به والرجل آخر له مال كثير فأخذ من عرضه فتصدق بمئة ألف درهم. He said $1, I'm going to say dollar in this case, one dirham. He said one dirham outweighed 100,000 dirham. They said, how was that? How can one dirham outweigh 100,000? He said there were two men. One man, he had 2 dirhams. He had $2. He had two. He took one and he gave it in sadaqah, and the other one he kept it. He kept it for himself, for his family. And then there was another man who had a lot of money. He had millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. He had a lot of money. That second man, he took 100,000 dirham and he gave it in sadaqah. So the man who gave 1 dirham, his $1 outweighed the man who gave 100,000. Why? How? Why? Because the sacrifice that was needed, the effort of the man who had only 2 and he gave half, was bigger than the guy who had millions of dollars, millions of pounds, dirham. It was bigger. And in this religion, there is a principle that comes from a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bismillah, he said, إنما الجزاء على قدر النصب أو النصب. He said that you will be rewarded comparable to the efforts that you make. So if 2 people in this masjid are neighbors, one lives over there and the other one lives across the street, they come to the masjid, one drives his car to the masjid and the other one walks to the masjid, the one who walks to the masjid is going to get more reward because it took more effort on his part. People who fast in the month of Ramadan in Palestine, in Gaza, in Ramallah, in Sudan, in Eritrea, people who fast in the month of Ramadan over there, they don't get the same rewards that we get fasting in the Khalij, fasting in America, fasting in Europe, because their fast is tougher, it's more difficult. What they're dealing with is more difficult. So the person who does a small thing the small thing that he does, it has the ability to outweigh the big thing, to outweigh it, to be better than it. Like 1 dirham being heavier and more weightier than 100,000. There are many examples of that. I'll give you one more and we move on to the last point, inshallah. The last point about the small deed outweighing the big deed. Pay attention to this. Our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam left his house to go and pray Salatul Fajr with the people in Jama'ah. And our mother Sophia or Juwayriya radiyallahu anha, she was sitting down making dhikr. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam left his wife making dhikr, and he went into the masjid and he prayed Salatul Fajr with the people. He stayed outside of the house until duha time. Duha. He was out there for about 3 hours, 4 hours. He was there for a long time outside. When he came back in the house, she was in her same place. He said to her, "Have you been here all of this time? And I have to stop here. Where I'm living at in the UK, we have some Muslims who believe that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as they say it like this, he is Hazir Nazir. And he knows the ilm al-ghayb. That means he's everywhere. He's omnipresent. He knows the ilm al-ghayb, just like Allah. That is not a religion that's easy. It's not easy to accept and to embrace that. And it's not easy because it goes against the Quran and it goes against the Sunnah and it doesn't make sense. Every time the Prophet asks the question, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it proves he doesn't know the unseen. Whose camel is this? What's your name? Where did you come from? Have you been here all of this time? Have you been here? Jibril came and said, "Ya Muhammad, mata sa'a? When is the hour?" He said, "Mal mas'ulu anha bi'a'lam min as-sa'il." The one who's being questioned knows just as much as the questioner. You and me are the same. I don't know. And then the Muslim is going to come and say, "La wallahi," he knows the ilm al-ghayb. He asked her, "Hey, have you been here all of this time?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Doing what?" She said, "I've been making dhikr of Allah." And you can rest assured, because she's his wife, because she's an Arab, she was making proper dhikr. She wasn't making dhikr of shirk. She wasn't making dhikr of khurafat. The Muslim comes, and he says, hey, Sheikh, I lost this, I lost that, and I'm trying to find it. What do you advise me to do, Sheikh? The Sheikh says to him, "Okay, just go in your house, burn the incense, turn the lights down, and just say 100,000 times, Ya Wajid, Ya Wajid, Ya Wajid, Ya Wajid, Ya Wajid." And he does that. He does that. Why? Because his religion is a religion that's not based and built upon, just know the simple things. The simple things in the religion would tell you that if someone tells you to do something like that, you have to say, "Sheikh, I respect you, you're our Sheikh, but I have the right to ask you this because of what happened to the Christians and the Jews. But Sheikh, where is that hadith at? Sheikh, where is that ayat at?" And then when he shows you the hadith or the ayat, you have to say, did Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali radiyallahu anhum, did they understand it like that? And I want to speak to my revert brothers in particular, especially my revert brothers, but also you young people, but everybody. That's a principle you should work, boy, akhi. We came into the religion and we found Muslims before us. I said, alhamdulillah, Allah guide us to al-Islam. But you know my mother right now, may Allah guide her to Islam. May Allah guide her to the Sunnah and to Tawheed. Put into the Jannat al-Firdaus without any hisab or adab. My mother loves me tremendously. And I know she loves me more than anybody here loves me. She loves me. And yet, you know, my mother told me, she taught me, Isa is the son of Allah. Had I died on that, I'd have been from the hatab of the knot of Jahannam. She loved me, but she was teaching me what was wrong. So I opened my eyes and I came to Islam. I found Islam is the truth. So since my mother misguided me and she loves me, then anyone can misguide me. intentionally or unintentionally. So I say to you revert brothers, but to all of you, but especially you revert brothers, I say to you, when people tell you, do it like this, do it like that, the hadith says this, the hadith says that, all you have to do is say, that Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, did they understand it like that? Because if they didn't understand it like that, it's not permissible for you to understand it like that. And Imam Malik said, what was the religion during their time is the religion now. And what was not the religion during their time is not the religion right now. It's real simple. This is simple. This is a simple thing. And that's from the most important seeds that you can plant. From the most important seed is the seed of worshiping Allah. You know what you're doing. And not worshiping Allah on the harf. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى harf. He doesn't know what he's doing. Anyway, he said, have you been here all of that time? She said, yes. He said, I can teach you some words. I'm going to teach you some words. If you say these words 3 times, it's going to be heavier than all of these 3-4 hours you've been here. All you have to do is say it 3 times. And the words take all of 30 seconds. She was there 3 hours, 4 hours. She said, what are those words, Ya Rasulullah? He told her one of the adhkar of the morning time. He told her to say, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Subhanallah wa bihamdihi adada khalqihi wa rida nafsihi wa zinata arshihi wa midada kalimatihi. Now I wish I could explain what that means. I wish I can explain what that means. He said if you say those words 3 times, Subhanallah wa bihamdihi adada khalqihi wa rida nafsihi wa zinata arshihi wa midada kalimatihi, it'll be heavier than all of this. Heavier. And it takes less than 30 seconds. So it goes to show how the small deed, it can outweigh the big deed. Like the last hadith in Sahih Bukhari. I told you that the first hadith in Sahih Bukhari, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. The last hadith in Sahih Bukhari. Anybody know? Anybody know the last hadith in Sahih Bukhari? Does anybody know? غيرك يا شيخ غيرك. Does anybody know the last hadith in Sahih Bukhari? The last hadith in Sahih Bukhari is كلمتان خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان حبيبتان للرحمن Subhanallah wa bihamdi Subhanallah al-Azim. 2 words that are light on the tongue, and they are heavy in the scales, and they are loved by Ar-Rahman. Simply saying Subhanallah wa bihamdihi Subhanallah al-Azim. So the first hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, everybody in the chain of narration is from Mecca. Like the Prophet started his hijrah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He started his da'wah in Mecca. Look at the fiqh of Imam al-Bukhari. So he's going to put that first hadith showing, and Islam started with Mecca. And then the last hadith that we just mentioned, all of the people in the chain of narration are from al-Madinah. The narrator of that hadith is Abu Hurairah, and everybody in that chain. The point is, it's heavy in the scale and it's light. The last point about that, Ikhwani, and this is really important. Do you see how the Prophet ﷺ is the scholar, he's the Ahlul Ilm, he's the Alim, and Juwayri is the Taliba, she's the student. Do you see how the scholar of the religion, the one who knows the religion, do you see how he knows how to optimize the action to get the most out of the situation? The student is sincere, and the student has some information, but the scholar, the more knowledge the person has, usually the less work he's going to do. Usually, the young person, he doesn't have a lot of knowledge. So what he has to do is, he has to relax. If you're going to get knowledge, like learning the Quran, take it easy. You have someone who's teaching you, a muallim, take it easy, relax. The one who's been through the road, he knows you have to have adab with him. And we have to mention this over and over. I say to the older people in this community, the older people, they have the upper hand over the younger people. And I'm going to say to the younger people, you have to be respectful to your father. You have to be respectful to the people who are in positions of authority. But I say to the older people, The younger people, they have a role to play. And from his seerah and his sunnah, as I mentioned, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that he taught us take care of the small things, the big things take care of themselves. From his sunnah also was take care of these youngsters. Don't be of the people who are in the cultural masjid. The cultural masjid, where the khutbah is in the language other than what the youth understand. The imam is speaking a language and he's not speaking the same language of the young man or the young girl. So what happens? Because they're not understanding what the imam is saying and what's going on in the masjid, they meet up and they hook up with the radical, the extreme person. The individual, he doesn't understand, nothing is for him in the masjid. As a result of that, what does he do? He stops even practicing Islam. So that hadith of Juwayriyah radiyallahu anha, it goes to show this community, this ummah, hey, the spring of the Arab, takfir, tabdi', tafsiq, big issues, that's not for every Amr, Bakr and Zayd to be talking about. You take care of the small things, like what's in front of your nose. Birru walidain, getting a job, taking care of your bills, you take care of your own self. As for these big issues, so we find today in the ummah, the Muslims today, in our ummah, everybody is a mufti and everybody could talk and give some serious fatwa. And this is a big problem. But that's a story for another day. Last point that we want to mention, ikhwani, concerning the big D's and the small D's, is that the small D's, they have the ability to equal the big D, they have the ability to outweigh the big D, and they have the ability to guarantee you, bi'idhnillah, Allah's forgiveness. Like the hadith of the lady who was a baghiyah. Her job was zina, akramakumullah. Not zina one time, but that was her mihna. Kanat tubashir zina. And she went into the well and she drank water for herself. She came out of the well and she gave the dog that was thirsty water. She didn't give the dog something that was expensive. She just gave the dog. And everybody know the position of the kilab in our religion. It's a hadith that the Nabi mentioned, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Lola anna al-kilab ummatun mithlukum la amartu bi qatliha. They have a dawr to play. They have something to do. He said, if they were not in a nation like you, I would kill all of those dogs. The dog in our religion, it's a problem. A problem. That lady gave the dog some water. And as a result of that, Allah forgave her for what she was doing. And what she was doing to the Muslim is one of the worst things. That's one of the worst things that a lady can do. And that was her job. She didn't build some big thing. She gave the dog some water. The hadith of the bataqa, the man will be raised up Yawm al-Qiyamah, 99 scrolls of bad deeds will be placed on the scale, 99 of bad deeds. And then just the bataqa, the card will be placed with La ilaha illallah. And that La ilaha illallah is going to outweigh all of that other stuff. It's going to outweigh all of the deeds. Because he's under the mashi'ah of Allah. And Allah Ta'ala does what he wants to do, is provided that the person died on La ilaha illallah. So the shahid of all of that kalam, and I finish this talk and this advice to you brothers here, as well as you sisters. The father, pay attention to the small D's. The wife, the mother, pay attention to the small D's. The administration, the imam of this masjid, pay attention to the small D's. The Muslim within himself, in his existence, pay attention to the small D's. Those of us who have college degrees, university degrees, you went in the first year of study and you learned the fundamentals, the building blocks that prepared you for the next year. And then those next group of building blocks that prepared you for the next one, and then the next one, and then you graduated. Then you went on and you got your master's, and then you went on to get your PhD. In your first year as a freshman, they didn't give you a thesis to write for your PhD. They made you deal with the fundamental building blocks first. And that's because even the kuffar, they realize this principle. So the Muslim, more than anybody, he should comprehend them, he should understand them, and it only makes sense. Deal with what is right in front of your face, right in front of your own nose, before you look way down there. Because if we establish the khilafah, Adam, Abu Usamah, Ahmed, Bilal, everybody established the khilafah in his own house, Allah will establish that khilafah in the earth. Allah will do that. But if I'm just giving empty slogans, and we're screaming empty slogans, and there's no jihad of ourselves, like getting up for Salatul Fajr, for an example. My wife. I have to make jihad with my wife and my children. I have to be able to say, hey, wife, don't you know that the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la'an Allah an-namisa wal-mutanammisa. May Allah curse, and this is a person who didn't curse people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, may Allah curse the woman who plucks her hair, and may Allah curse the one who plucked her hair. She plucked her hair, and the one who did it. This is so insignificant. It's so insignificant. Anas ibn Malik told the Tabi'in. Anas ibn Malik is from the companions. He's from the ulama of the companions. He said to the Tabi'un, radiyallahu anhu wa rahimahumullah, you people, he said to the Tabi'in, innakum lataf'aluna a'malan hiya adaqqu fi a'yunikum min ash-sha'r kunna naraha ala ahdi an-nabiy sallallahu alayhi wa sallam min al-mubiqat. You people, you Tabi'un, you are doing deeds that you see those deeds as being more insignificant than a piece of hair. A piece of hair. He said, we, the companions, we used to see those deeds that you are doing as something that will destroy you. It will destroy you. That piece of hair. So it goes to show, just as the small deed can equal the big deed, it can outweigh the big deed, it can get the maghfirah, that small deed that you think is small, it can destroy you. It can destroy you. Allah's curse is upon it. For an example, the Muslim who's selling khamr, he's selling khamr. One bottle of vodka, tahar Allah yamakum, qulu ameen. He sells a bottle of vodka, someone goes and drinks that vodka and gets into a car accident and he kills someone. He maims someone. He makes someone handicapped. He divorces his family. He gets cirrhosis of the liver. You know, the reward of all of that is going to go back to the guy who that's his business. And I don't say this because someone told me to say this about someone. I'm addressing an issue that is a challenge in our community. Just as the small deed can equal, outweigh, and give you Allah's maghfirah, what you perceive as being small can destroy you. تَحْسَبُونَهُ هَيِّنًا وَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمٌ. You think it's a small thing, but with Allah, it is something that is big. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله تبارك وتعالى يوفقنا وإياكم لما يحب ويرضى. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.